post-construction, and restaurant industries. We also offer 24-hour COVID remediation services. Contact us at 313-509-8345 for a competitive quote. Awesome Bright, we know the ABCs of good cleaning.
Well, good evening and God bless you, and thank you for joining us tonight on Relationship Matters, where relationships do matter to us, so we pray that they matter to you. We thank God for allowing us to come to this space one more time, and this is my lovely wife with me, my co-host Monica, and I am Melvin. And we thank you for joining us one more week. We're just looking into different parts of relationships and dealing with different aspects of it. But tonight we wanted to talk about not only just in marital relationships, but just in relationships in general. And we wanted to talk about selfish people. And all of us have a touch of selfishness in us, but at times you grow out of it. And what I mean by that is when you're a child, you're spoiled, your mom and dad give you what you want or give each child what they need or what their wants are, and you become selfish, and whereas you decide it's about me and me only. But as you grow older, as you grow into relationships, you find out that it's not always about you. But most selfish people do not realize that they're selfish. They deal with different things in their life and they think that they're doing the best for everyone when all in all, they're really only looking out for me, myself, and I. And when you look at those types of people, they don't realize that they're selfish. So tonight we want to just talk for a little while and dwell on selfish people. All of us have some selfish people in our lives, whether it's a friend, a co-worker, a supervisor, a subordinate, or someone that we go to church with, that they're selfish. And we just want to deal with that just for a little while tonight, because when you think about it, we need to find a remedy of trying to help that person understand that they're selfish. Some people just don't know that they're selfish.
A lot of times people, when it comes to being selfish, they're so self-centered. That's why they don't realize that they're being selfish. They don't realize that they're not actually a giving person or even attempting to be a giving person. A lot of times when it comes to relationships with siblings, you have a lot of arguments about sharing a lot of times when it comes to them. And it's just all around problem, I think, in certain relationships, because you never make time to want to see the other person happy or put yourself on the back burner. And that's basically what we're going to need to do, and we'll dig a little deeper into that. But you really want to put yourself second and compromise it. See that other person is happy in the relationship.
Because what happens with a selfish person in a relationship, when they don't realize that they're selfish, what they do is they try to extract from you all the time. They never really give. They're extracting your love. They're extracting your time. They're extracting your affections. They're just trying to extract any and everything that they can get from you and not never give back. And so now what happens is that's a one-sided coin in a marital relationship, and it's really a one-sided coin in any other relationship, because you see that you're always doing work to help them, but they never do nothing in return to help you. And so tonight we just want to deal with that word selfishness, because some people are so self-centered that they don't understand that it's not all about you. It's not all about your family. It's not all about just you and mine. Now, granted, just a side note, men as providers for their homes they worry about that to a point because they know that they're the breadwinners of their home, so they have to worry about me, myself, and mine, and take care of home. But yet, when it comes to the relationship of the family, it has to be in accordance where everything is shared and everybody's getting an equal piece of the pie. It can't just be about the head of the house; it's got to be about the whole house. And so, when you deal with different aspects of selfishness, you have to deal with it from the root to the to the end, because of the fact when it grows, it grows and it evolves into something crazy. So if you were a selfish child but yet you grew out of it, now you spoil your children, and then now that seed has been transplanted to them, and when they get older, if it doesn't transplant to their kids, they end up being selfish grown-ups.
A lot of times it's just a person not having regards for others, not having regards for how this might end up making you feel, what type of state of mind this might put you in if I'm never listening to you. Have you ever had that friend who calls and, want to share some news, and you get on the phone and you're like, oh, wow, that's awesome, and you're really excited for them, and then they go into another story, and then you say, that happened to me, and such and such happened, and you go to explaining, and before you can get it out good, that whole thing just went right back to them. That's what you call a self-centered individual. That's what you call someone who's only concerned about them and what's going on in their lives, only what's important to them. And those type of people end up monopolizing and consuming your energy a lot of times. And that's why you have to be smart enough to not always communicate with them. Because when it comes a time to, let's say, you need some help, you need some advice, and they're never there for you, then that tells you that that person or that individual is only concerned about themselves, and they will show themselves true to that. Because every single time you go to pick up that phone when you're in some kind of need and they take over the conversation, you see right then and there that that's what spirit that person has. Because
what happens is a selfish person, whether they know it or not, they're very manipulative. And what they do is they manipulate the situation where it gets turned around, where it benefits them. And they try, most of the time they don't even, they try to hide it and don't know that they're hiding it. What am I saying? I'm saying this is that a selfish person is hard to notice. Why do I say that? They're hard to notice because of the fact most of the times they're trying to be people pleasers, but yet you don't see their dark side. They have an underlining issue that they want to get from you, so they put on this personification or this outward appearance that they want to help please you, but they really only are doing it so that they can get pleased back.
Yeah, they have moments of generosity. They have, they're very monopolizing, and when they do have those moments of generosity, you think that oh, they really do care, but no, like you said, it's an ulterior motive. They're really doing this so that you will think that. So that's like what they say in underplay. they just really want to get in there and then make you think that they're really there for you, and then 30 seconds later they go for the kill, right back to being monopolizing, getting whatever it is that they desire or whatever it is that they want to talk about, and automatically just goes right back to them.
That's because they're controllers. Okay. And what they try to do is they control everything in their environment, and they want to be always in control. Everything's got to be co-signed by them. In other words, they're abusers. They don't think that they're abusers, but they're abusers because what they do, they manipulate the authority that they have over you or the love that they have over you, and never question themselves. And the reason why they never question themselves is because they don't think they have a problem. They think you always have a problem, when really they are the ones who got the problem, because they have never sat down and dwelt and looked at and say, is this problem me or is this someone else? And really, when you go down to the lowest common denominator, they always have the same problem, but they always say it's everybody else, but it's really them.
They're emotional pirates.
Well,
They crave attention, and they try their best to always stand out. They're self-serving, and a lot of times they're, like you said, very controlling.
right.
And I think what happens sometimes, even in a friendship, and I guess I'm kind of trying to stick with a friendship instead of a marriage, because I know a lot of single people watch the show, but in a friendship, when you have a friend, someone that you love and you care about, and you share things with, there are times when one might be in a greater need than the other.
Right.
But when that friend can never bring anything to the table but what they need, their wants, their problems, their issues, when that's the only thing that can be brought to the table, then that's when you know that that is someone that is trying to control and manipulate you. You know that it's someone that that definitely doesn't just want your attention, but they want to consume you. And that person, a lot of times, when you're single women, that person, a lot of times, when you find yourself getting into a relationship and about to get married, that person will try to sabotage anything that's going to take that attention away from them, including marriage, including your new spouse.
Wow, that's very interesting, because a selfish person, as she was speaking of, they're uncaring towards anybody else. They only care about themselves, and since they only care about themselves, even in an emotional state, and we know that women are more emotional than men in most cases, but a lot of us men are emotional. Let's put that disclaimer out there. Even with that emotion, uncaring, what word am I looking for? An uncaring person in a relationship will try to flip the script and make you feel guilty about what you're emotionally upset about. And so what they're trying to do is manipulate you again into feeling guilty. And that's no good, because that person there is really selfish, because they don't really care about your needs, your wants, or how you're feeling in the situation. They're just trying to make you feel guilty to flip the script, so then now the attention gets back on them.
Because what they'll do is they'll try to push your buttons. And when they push your buttons, sometimes you can lose yourself in it. So you have to be really careful when you're dealing with a person like that, because when you lose control and you begin to allow the enemy to come in, then you can't take words back, you can't take thoughts back, because as a man thinketh, so is he.
Absolutely.
So a lot of times they play games with you, with your emotions, your life, and so you have to be able to not go tit for tat with them, but you have to be able to say, okay, this is really about you. That person that always disappears when they're frustrated and upset, they never have the verbiage or the communication skill to come and talk to you. They will rather make you, because see, they want the attention, so they want to make you think that you've done something wrong, or you said something wrong, so you will run after them. That's what they do. They like to do the little hide and seek game, and then when it comes back down or around to it, it looks, attempt to make you look or think that you have done something to hurt them or betray them. They like to play mind games, and you have to be a person that's smart enough to see that they're trying to manipulate you, and they're smart enough to see that you have to take control over this, because if you don't take control over this, it not only will get out of control, but it can go really left really quick, and it can cause some turmoil in your life. It can definitely cause some problems.
Right. And some of these selfish people are, and let me talk to the men just for a few moments. Some of you are selfish, and you don't really realize it, because you've been a bully all your life. And bullies are nothing but selfish people. because they want it my way or no way. It's my way or the highway. That is a selfish spirit, because it shouldn't be my way or the highway, because in any relationship, all relationships, whether it's marriage or friendship, there's give and take. And there's always got to be some give, and there's always got to be some take. And you can't bully your way through it. And so you can't flip the script and make them feel like they're less than a person because they didn't do it the way you wanted it to be done. So you know how most bullies will say something to a woman they're dating or a spouse or what have you. So if you really love me, you would do it. That's a punk move. You know,
mind control.
Trying to control the situation because of the fact that you're selfish. It shouldn't be that way, you know, or flip the script and say, well, I didn't take the job because I knew that you wanted to go back to school. That's an excuse. That you need to sit down and understand you can't be selfish. It really what it is, you really don't want to work. And you need to flip the script and sit down and say, well, I need to reevaluate myself. So selfish people are always uncaring towards others. And when you get into relationships, you have to get to the point that, you know, it's not all about me. It's about us. You know, and it could be my boy, it could be a coworker, whatever it may be. We have to get into the place where it's give and take. And what happens a lot with selfish people, what they do is they plot and they scheme so that it always looks like you're against them. And that's a manipulative spirit again, because selfish people are what they call it, narcissistics. They're right on the borderline.
You have to remind them sometimes, though, that the world doesn't revolve around them.
Right.
You know, it's not all is not lost when you have a relationship with a person that you realize is selfish. Sometimes you just have to let them know, you know, okay, so this is not going to go the way that you anticipated it was going to go, and I am not going to give in to, you know, your tantrums. I'm not going to give in to your play on words, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to sit down like two adults. We're going to compromise. We're going to try to figure it out, and then we're going to move on. There are times when they will hear you and then will want to change, because it's not just happening with one person. It's not just everybody. Yeah. It's not just your spouse. It's not just a coworker. It's not just your best friend. It's not just the babysitter. Mm-hmm. It's all of your relationships. Do you find that person is self-centered? Because it will show in every relationship that they have.
And if every time they have a conversation with somebody, whether it's you, whether it's a person working at the counter, if they have an encounter with them where it becomes into a confrontation, that shows a selfish spirit, because when they think through the whole thing, it's always about them. And everything that everyone else is doing seems to be wrong. Well, let's take a snapshot. Let's look in the mirror and look at ourselves, because that selfishness is right there, and we're causing a lot of the headaches and a lot of the heartaches that's all around us, just because of the fact that everything that we say ain't always relevant. And then they try to discount what that friend or that person that you're dealing with, they try to discount that. And that's a classic sign of somebody that's selfish. They always want to shine. They always want to look bigger than you are, and admit that you're wrong. Everybody's going to be wrong. Nobody's perfect but Jesus Christ. So you have to get to a point in life where you understand and look at the man in the mirror and say, am I a selfish person? This is a self-evaluation tonight.
And then sometimes you have to let them know that you feel that you can't come to them. Sometimes you have to just say, hey, I need someone to talk to. I need to share something. Are you that person that can listen to me tonight? Are you going to be there for me? Are you able to sit back and hear what I'm saying and then talk to me about what I'm going through, not about what you're going through, not about what your issue is, your problem is, but can you talk to me about me?
Wow.
And sometimes you just have to sit them down and ask that question. And that person, they may have an aha moment. They may realize at that point, wow, I am a little wrapped up in myself, huh?
Mm-hmm.
I've been a little consumed.
Wow.
And then, and instead of them having, instead of you combating them with the screaming and the hollering and the going toe to toe with them in their temper tantrum, and you say something like that, are you that person that I can trust tonight to talk to? Are you ready to listen to me? Can you hear me? And you sit there and say that to them, and it's only one way. It can only go one way or another. They're going to say yes or no, and then that tells you whether it's time to hang up the phone or not.
Right.
Because you have to be consistent with them, and you have to let them know that you have recognized that this spirit is ruling them.
And in every relationship, there has to be somebody that's speaking, and there has to be somebody listening. And it goes on both sides of the coin. One person can't speak all the time, and one person can't listen all the time. It has to be what we call communication. And another thing with a selfish person, they find it difficult to give. They find it difficult to share things. They don't want to share anything. They want to manipulate it. They want to control everything. They don't want to share nothing because they've lived that way for so long, and nobody ever sat down and discussed with them that they were a selfish person. Nobody sat down and taught them, how you're supposed to give and how you're supposed to treat one another, and they just get caught up in self. And so we're praying tonight for the selfish person tonight.
Sometimes you have to starve them from that attention that they crave, because they crave attention. They feed off of attention. And if you ever had one of your children, let's say you see that one is selfish. You see that they always have the hand out. They want. They never really share with their siblings, and they're always trying to do underhanded things. So sometimes you have to sit that child down. You have to not give that child the attention that they want at that time. You let them sit there alone, act as if they're not really there, even when they start having a temper tantrum, even when they start acting out, because they will. But you have to ignore them because they crave that attention.
Right.
And if you ever notice, if you have one child that always got in trouble at school all the time, it was because they knew that mom and dad would come and they would get that attention that they wanted. And so sometimes you have to starve them from that attention, and you have to give them some tough love, and then start talking to them about goals and how they need to become responsible. And it works. It does work. And even when it comes down to as they get older, you will see that, if they're growing, you'll see that selfishness falling off of them, and you'll see where they're like, oh, well, you can have it. It's okay if it's my last soda. You can have it.
Right.
It's okay. You'll see them learning how to play and not learning how to play with the friends and share, and not just being so withdrawn and so determined to just be the one seeing.
See, it's one thing about the selfish person. They're selfish, but yet they need people. Can I say that again? They're selfish, but yet they need people. Why do I say that? Because they need people so that they can be the center of attention. They need people, just like she was talking about the baby always needing attention, doing something wrong at school or whatever, so they know mama or daddy would come. In other words, they know how to violate to a point to get attention. In other words, they violate to a certain boundary line so that they can get all the attention. So that's a selfish point, that way they know that they're going to come get me. I'm going to go home. I'm not going to have to stay in school no more, or whatever it may be, or I'm going to get to spend the rest of the afternoon with mama. I'm going to get to spend the rest of the afternoon with daddy, and he going to take me here, and he going to buy me this, and he going to do this, even though I got in trouble in school. But I did this because I violated the boundary lines, and since I went across the boundary lines, I'm getting what I want. I'm being selfish. So selfish people need other people.
You got to remember, if they do that at school and you bring them home, you got to remember not to give them that attention, because see, that's what they're wanting.
Yeah,
and if you starve them for that attention, it's going to begin to throw them off and say, oh, so I really didn't get the outcome that I wanted. But if you give them that attention, see, they're getting the outcome that they wanted, and so what they tried to manipulate, they're getting the benefit from it. But if you get to the point where you're outsmart that fifth grader and say, no, I know what you're looking for, but I'm not going to give it to you, and you don't give them that attention that they're starving for, then they're sitting there like, oh, okay, so maybe this didn't work. Maybe I need to try something different, because this is not it.
That's that control factor. They want control. Selfish people want control. They want to always be out in front. They always want all of the attention. So now that they've done this outlandish thing to go across the boundary lines, now they got your attention. So now they're the center of attention, and now they got control of the situation in their mind. They say, I got control of this. Now everybody's got to look out and see what I'm doing. Everybody's eye is on me. And when you deal with children involved, the other kids are looking like, well, if she can get away with that or he can get away with that, well, I might as well see if I can get away with that. That's why the selfish thing is what children do when they're coming up. They manipulate. They work one parent against the other parent. That's just what they do, because that's a selfish trait. Now, when we talk about the trait, it's just part of being a human being, but the trait sometimes gets in the DNA line, and then now it goes from generation to generation to generation, but you got to be able to break the curse along the way.
And when you're dealing with a child, when I was a child, I spake as a child. But when I got older, I put away those childish things. But what's happening is adults are bringing that into adulthood. So they're still acting like a child, and that's why they want to put the toys up. And when you come, they want to snatch it out your hand and tell you that they're not going to play with you. And as grown people, we should be able to have those real life talks where you're not running and hiding the truth from them, and then you're not always giving in to them either. You have to be able to bring topics up that interest you. Everything cannot be about that person. Everything cannot just be, we only go to the restaurant you like, we only go to the store that you like, we only watch the movies that you like. That's not fair to the other person in the relationship. And even if it's a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, it's not fair that the only things that we do are the things that he likes to do. That's not fair to the other person in a relationship. So you might as well be in a relationship by yourself.
Well, it's a two-sided street.
Yeah.
We in this thing together. And now another thing that a selfish person, they try not to show is vulnerability. They try not to show vulnerability or weakness. They want to always show that they're in control. And if you ever notice anything about a selfish person, they'll never do anything for free. They always want to know what's in it for me. Now that's when you really know whether or not that's really your friend or not. When you're in a need of something and you ask them, could you come through and could you help me out with this or what have you? Well, they always gonna say, well, what's in it for me? Or did you know that you could get a grant for that and then you could pay me to do it? And, that's a selfish spirit. They're only looking out for what they can get out of it because they don't want to show vulnerability, because if they do something for you at no cost, they feel like you taking advantage of them. But that's a selfish spirit.
That's a person that I call, always a taker, never a giver. They just always have their hand out wanting something. And I feel bad for people that are surrounded by selfish people.
My God.
Especially if you are a giver. Because if you are a giver and you're the person that always does the giving, it seems as if that those people will end up doing really hurtful things to you, because it just continues to happen to you over and over and over again. And then it makes that person that's a giver kind of shut down and go to the point where they really just don't want to be bothered with people at all. And that has happened to me personally in a couple of different situations. And then my defense mechanism is, I'm good by myself. Let me just stay by myself, because people are tricky. They are messy. And I would rather be alone than to get caught in situations like that with selfish people that are always talking about, give me, what else can I get from you? And then, and a lot of times, I find that some of the people, will use the excuse, well, I don't know what to give you. They use that excuse a lot. Well, what do you mean you don't know what to give me? Well, you already have this and you already have that. Well, give me some more. If you know that that's what I like. So, I mean, but you will find that excuse when you around self-centered people. They'll use something like that as an excuse.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. And these self-centered, selfish people are something else, because they're ones who cannot accept corrective criticism. They don't want you to tell them where they're wrong or where they're off at, or where they're just off course at, and you're not doing it to hurt their feelings. You're not doing it to let the light shine on you. You're doing it to help them, because you feel that they're your friend. You're in a relationship with them, and I want somebody, if they're going to be my friend and we're in a relationship, tell me the truth. Let me know. You're like, man, that shirt was too tight on you, man. Just be honest with the person, instead of telling them, man, y'all look good on there, and it's a tale. That's the way I'm gonna put it. And you want somebody that will tell you the truth. I know most women want their girlfriends to tell them, tell me the truth. My hair looks a hot mess, or tell me the truth, because constructive criticism goes a long way. But a selfish person don't want to hear that, because of the fact they don't want to hear it, because they'll feel annoyed. They'll feel like they're not number one no more, because you just broke them down and told them a flaw that they have, and they don't think they have any flaws, because of the fact that they're selfish and they only think about them and they're only worried about what they can get. But a real friend will give constructive criticism to that person that's selfish, and do it in a tactful way where it doesn't become harmful to the relationship. But the problem is, the selfish person may not want to receive it.
So you have to be assertive somewhere.
Right.
You have to be able to tell the truth to them. You have to be able to let them know that this is not really working. You have to be able to have that real live talk with them and say, look, this is where we are, this is what's going on with us, and this is not working for me. It's actually hurting me.
Right.
Because you have to take control and don't allow them to keep hurting you, because that hurt will manifest itself somewhere else, and then that's not fair to you. You have to let them know that I have to take a position here, and I have to take a stance for myself, because this is not working for me. This is not helping me. This is bothering me. It's hindering me. And so what I need you to do is to hear what I'm saying to you, and let's figure out if we can get past this point. In some friend relationships, you can't get past it, so you have to let it go.
Have to let it go. See, now on that same point, I would make a point of how to really, do you handle a selfish person? And when you're handling a selfish person, and with what we just talking about constructive criticism, you have to approach it in the right tone, in the right settings, because realistically, when you're dealing with a selfish person and you got to give them constructive criticism, what you're really doing is you're exposing them. And the only way that you can get a lie out, you got to expose it. And to expose it, you got to do it to a point whereas you're exposing it for their good, not for their bad, not to try to tear them down. You're exposing them to bring clarity to them so that they'll understand what you're talking about. It's kind of the same scenario of what happened in the Bible with David, as David was going through in the Bible, and he was on the rooftop, and while he was on the rooftop, he saw this woman across the rooftop that caught his eye. Okay, so now this woman caught his eye, and her name was Bathsheba. And when he saw Bathsheba, he said, "Wow, I'm really digging her. You know, I would like to really get with her." But he knew that she had a husband, so he sent her husband out to war. And while he slept with this man's wife, and ended up impregnating her. Am I right, somebody? And understand what I'm saying is, it took Nathan the prophet to come along and expose him. In relationships, you have selfish people that need to be exposed. And he exposed him to the point where he did it tactfully. Okay. And while he was exposing him, David knew enough about the Lord, whereas the Lord came in and taught him and said, "Let me teach you what you need to do in this situation." And what did he do? He repented. If you got a real friend that can handle constructive criticism, and they're selfish, they'll be able to absorb it after you expose it, and then you can give them a teachable moment for them to learn what needs to be done so they can get to the next level.
Because they often, as selfish people, they often don't like to do favors. They always ask you for a favor, or always say if you can do something, or do you mind lending them this, that, or the other. But when you ask for something, they always squirm their way out of it. They always find an excuse or why they can't come and do something for you. It's always a reason to it. It's always something that, they have to do, or no, I can't babysit for you this time. I have to do this. I have to do that. They always have some excuse. And if you notice, they have their hand out, though, wanting you to help them or wanting you to watch their child, but they can never reciprocate. And that's a red flag when you're in a relationship with a friend that always wants, something from you and never wants to pour back into you. If you keep hanging around that person, when you go to pour out, you're empty because they've drained you.
Right. Because selfish people, they think they deserve everything, and they don't. They think that they're so self-centered that everything should come through them. It's what we call a sense of entitlement. And that sense of entitlement will get you in trouble, because most people who have that sense of entitlement wear it on their sleeves. Whereas you can see it from a distance that they think that they're entitled to have that or have that, in which they really have not even earned it. They just happen to be in the right place at the right time, and they think that I'm entitled to this. No, you're not entitled to it, because that is a selfish spirit. As hard as you work to get to where you are, you got to continue to work to get to the next level anyway.
And then at some point, you have to realize that you got to limit your time with them.
Come on now.
You have to be able to take a stand and say, this isn't working. I have to limit my time, and I have to kind of regroup and retreat. And maybe God will give me some instructions on how to help the individual, or how to regain our composure, our relationship, to get back to where it should be. But there are some casualties of war. So everybody that goes to war is not going to come back. Some of them are going to lose their lives. So in other words, there are some friendships that are going to be a casualty of war, that you won't be able to get back that friendship back. You won't, because that person is not going to be willing to grow and to be man or woman enough to see what it is that they're struggling with and to move forward. So, and if that's the case, you have to know that the next time you pick, you got to pick better in the friendship zone. You have to see the red flags. sometimes people will tell you about people, and I'm one that's true to this. I have to see for myself. I just can't take your word for it. I have to see for myself. But sometimes, you might want to put some fillers out there. Look at that resume. You just don't hire anybody. Anybody just can't come and be your friend.
Right.
So, you take some resumes.
Amen.
Take a look and see what they have to work with before you want to develop this relationship.
And if you ever notice with people in general, a selfish person don't listen to people who don't agree with them. They always, I'm not talking to them because they don't never agree with nothing I got to say. It may not be that they have to agree with everything you say. It may be to the situation, whereas we may not be on the same page on a certain scenario or a certain situation, but we don't have to become enemies because we don't agree on something. We have a saying right in our own household. We got to
agree to disagree.
So that don't mean that we're enemies. It's just she thinks this way on a situation, I think this way on a situation, and we agree to disagree. But selfish people, because you don't agree with what they got to say, they want to disown you. They want to distance themselves. Because they can't take constructive criticism from you because they think anything you say is always against what they have to say. But I beg to differ with you today, because selfish people has no time to broaden their horizons. They only think in this certain tunnel and they can't go outside of the box. We live in a day and time right now where you got to be able to think outside of the box. It's not business as usual anymore, because we're here in a pandemic and we got to learn how to adapt in the environment that we're in. Selfish people aren't going to make it in this day and time if they don't learn how to get along with other people, and it's not all self-centered about them. In other words, you'll find a selfish person, what they'll do is they'll criticize you behind your back. Now, if they're really a real person, they would talk to you and have a conversation together. Don't talk about me behind my back. Say it to my face. We can do it in constructive criticism. We can sit down and talk and not have a judgment against one another. We can talk and really get the gist of where is my thought process in this. Sometimes you have to get your head wrapped around what's going on, because sometimes you can look at a glass, it can be half full or it can be half empty. It depends on how you're looking at it. If I look at it, I might say it's half full. She might look at it and say it's half empty. Well, neither one of us is really wrong. The answer's still there. It's a half a glass of water. And now that we got a half a glass of water, here we are discussing something that we may agree or disagree on, but we shouldn't judge one another because of our thought process on it.
Right, and then in a relationship or in a marriage, you don't have the liberty to throw the marriage away because we see things differently or we're not agreeing. You have to really take time and start interceding for your spouse. You really have to lay out. Sometimes you got to flip that plate over some days, and you really got to ask God, how do I deal with this person that's exhibiting this selfishness? How do I minister to him? How do I help him see himself? And God will answer you, and God will give you, the steps. God will guide you. God will direct you. But you have to be willing to work at it. You have to be willing to concentrate on it. You have to be willing to be true to it. And then you have to be able, like you said, to call that thing out. Don't allow it to be hidden and not say anything to them. You got to talk about it. You got to call it out. You have to be honest enough with yourself to say, I know it's going to get a little sketchy. It's going to get a little hairy, but can we talk about this?
It has to be exposed.
It has to be told that this is what we're wrestling with, and we need some help here. And how do we get help for this? How will we as a team surpass this and not allow the enemy to just go and run our relationship in the ground? But you have to be willing to work on it.
Absolutely.
And marriage is work. Marriage is another full-time job. That's why some of us aren't ready for marriage, and some of us begging to be married, and you're still not ready because you're one of those selfish people. You get married to somebody and you have one television, you want to monopolize the television the whole day. Because you're used to it. That's how you've always done it. And that could be the reason that God has not sent him to find you yet, because you're not ready.
Not ready. Amen. Not ready. Now another thing, and we're almost done, is when you talk about a selfish person, I find oftentimes that a lot of selfish people, they exaggerate a lot. And what I mean by that, they tell tales. They add more on to the story than it really is there to expound on, to make themselves look bigger and better. This right here is where the exposure needs to come in, because every one of us need to have a spirit of humility. And if you don't have a spirit of humility, you're never going to go to the next level, because humility is a virtue. And when we really deal with the spirit of humility, that means that you're able to absorb things that are going on around you and able to go to the next level. But a selfish person exaggerates on their achievements. So if he got a $2,000 bonus, he tells that he got a $4,000 bonus. And I've met people over the years that they exaggerate on everything. If I tell them I went and bought a 65-inch 4K high definition TV, they got to exaggerate and come back. Well, I bought a 75-inch. And then when you go to the house, they got a 55-inch. So why? It didn't matter that your TV was smaller than mine. It had nothing to do with it. The Lord blessed me to go and get this at this time. So people that are selfish will exaggerate because they want to be bigger and better, but it's not always about them. Just thank God for what he's done for you and yours, and go from there, and don't try to keep up with the Joneses. Do what you have to do so that you can stay grounded and have a true foundation. But when you're selfish, you get out of the box and you start doing things that don't make no sense, and you're trying to go from here to there, and you're exaggerating about everything that goes on. And the reason why I think they exaggerate is because they're scared of public failure. They don't want to be a failure in anybody's eyesight. Well, you're human. You're not perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. All of us fail at something in life. So you have to deal with it on that level to understand that I've got to identify and get exposed to what my issue is. Most people don't know that they're selfish. You need to take a reevaluation and look at the man in the mirror and say, hold on. And if you got a spouse, or if you got a good friend, real talk will expose certain things. Am I really doing that? Explain to me, how am I doing that? Because you don't know that you're doing that. You don't know that you're starting stuff. You don't know if you're doing this. You don't know, if you did this wrong until somebody tells you. You think you're doing it right, but if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, and selfish people, I forgot to mention, will also hinder, I think I did say it will hinder other relationships, but they will also block you from new relationships.
My God.
They will plant seeds for other people to not want to be a part of your life, and kind of because they want to monopolize your time, so they don't want that other person to become a friend of yours. So they will do things to derail relationships in your life, and even have the audacity to attempt to hinder them, and sometimes cancel them out just because they're self-centered.
Absolutely. Now, when you're really dealing with this selfish person, and I'm going to throw this caveat out there, and some of y'all might say, well, hold on, Pastor. But sometimes you got to break the ice, and we said to expose it. Sometimes you have to get angry with them and let them know that you're being for real about the situation. When I mean get angry, I mean just get to the point where they know that you're being for real.
Yeah, that you're serious
That
about
you're serious about the conversation, and explain to them why I'm saying this the way I'm saying it. Explain to them, I got to put this question on the floor because you've never dealt with me being angry. I'm trying to show you that I love you. I care about you. So I have to get angry about this so that you know that I'm serious.
And especially in a marriage, let's take for instance us, you being an only child. There were some things that when we got married that you were really selfish about. You were really, and I think that had to do with, like I said, you just being by yourself, and you're like, I didn't know I'm supposed to share that, and I'm supposed to give that. And until I said something, and finally I got angry, and I finally said something. At first I was just like not saying anything, just going along with it, and then I finally did. I got angry and I said something like, "Hey, and it would be little bitty things or whatever, but that thing could have festered and grown."
Right.
If I didn't get angry and bring it to your attention or say something, because it could have been a real big thing. It
had to be said because of the fact that it would have been something that would have just ate at her, and then she would have been annoyed with me all the time. So it's good that it was exposed early, and in that way it got things on the same playing field. And once you're on the same playing field, that's how you mature and go to the next level. We got 31 years in, so I think we've done something right. I really believe that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's what I love about our relationship. We can talk about things. We even talk about things that happened in our childhood, and we realize that this is why you're that way, because this happened in your childhood, and this is why you think like this, and this is why you talk like this, is because these things happen in your childhood. And we sit and we talk about that stuff, and some of it isn't pleasant, and some of it is kind of tiring and somewhat frustrating, and you start peeling back the layers and peeling back more layers. You're like, wait a minute, you don't want to be exposed. You don't want that person to see you like that. You don't want them to feel like you could be that type of person. But when you start peeling those layers back, it's to help you. It's to help you be a better wife, to be a better mother, to be a better steward, to be a better child of God. It's just make you a well-rounded individual, and it'll help you recognize some things about yourself. And what I like about how when we peel things back, we don't throw it up in each other's face. We don't condemn that person for being that way, or say, by now you should be like this. Never do that. What we do is we take time with each other and we talk about, okay, so this is what I'm saying. Is this what you're saying? This is how I'm feeling. How are you feeling? We explore the situation instead of just, dropping the load on them and saying, okay, and I'm out. We talk about it and we explore. And that's one of the things I think that helps us grow and continue to want to be in each other's presence, because once your kids grown and stuff, you start I don't have to be here. They're not here.
And when you're dealing with a relationship, and not all relationships has a selfish person in it, but we dealt with the selfish people tonight. And when we really deal with the selfish people, sometimes you have to get their attention. You got to flip the script. And when I say flip the script, you start talking about stuff that you deserve. You start talking about acclimates that you've done, and then the attention gets off of them because they say, whoa, they did that. Talk about, I went to school and I did this in school, and I did this, and I played sports, and whatever it may be, and you flip the script so that you get some of the acclimates or what you deserve. I'm not saying you go to their level. What I'm saying is you give them a little dose of their medicine, and they'll start realizing, I really have been selfish about this situation, and it gets them to rethink the situation, and then now that's really another teachable moment.
Yeah, and it'll help them see themselves for what they've been doing. Because sometimes you can hear yourself talking and you're like, well, but I deserve that. It's okay for me to feel like that. And you keep on geeking yourself up. Well, it's okay if I'm a little obnoxious, and it's nothing wrong with that. And you just keep patting yourself on the back. So sometimes you need that person to say, hey, no, what about me over here? And I have this, and I've done this, and then kind of it might make that person that's narcissistic say, well, you a little uppity about yourself. And then it might make them have an aha moment like, yeah, this is how you come across. This is what you're saying all the time. And then it might make them say, oh, I don't like the way that looks.
Right.
And so it'll give them an opportunity and a chance to want to scale back and to do better themselves.
Right. And don't always talk about what they're interested in. Talk about what you're interested in. Flip the script and let them know I'm interested in this and you're interested in this. This way it's not all about them, because that's all a selfish person wants. They want everything to be about them. But when you flip the script and start talking about something that interests you, they say, wow, I didn't know that. So then now you're doing another teachable moment where you're switching gears, where they're understanding that you're individual just like they're individual. It's not always a take. You got to give also, and giving sometimes it's just nothing but an ear, just to listen to what they got to say.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of a relationship is compromise. So you don't want to always, we have to wear red tonight. I don't want to wear red tonight. Why does it always have to be the color you pick and choose? Compromise. Well, what's a good color for you?
Right.
And then, just it's so much simpler than always being the one that's, holding out. You want to be aggravated all the time. It's so much simpler to just sit and talk, sit down and, say, okay, let's have this 15-minute powwow. Let's write some things down. What do you see? What would you like? Talk about it. I mean, if it's so much easier to talk to one another because there's so much stress in yelling and arguing. Absolutely. And always mad. It's just so much stress and tension. And I don't know about you, but I want to live a stress-free life, and I don't want to come home. I have a hectic job, frustrated at the job, working at the church, people being willy-nilly at the church. And then you got to come home and you got to argue, and everywhere you going is somebody wanting to be combative. I want to have a safe haven. I want to be able to come home if I don't have a spouse. I want to be able to get my cup of coffee and talk to my girlfriend and say, so I don't understand the scripture. I want to be able to have an easy breezy. Can you help me explain this to me? Oh, it's, and I want to have stress free. I don't want to always be so tight and tensed up. You want to be able to have some serenity in your home and some peace.
Absolutely. And when you're in a relationship, whether it's a marital relationship or a friendship relationship, stop doing everything they demand you to do. You're an individual just like they are. As she said, if we're going to decide we're going to wear blue tonight, it shouldn't be, if I don't want to wear blue, I'm not going to wear blue. It shouldn't have to be a demand or a compromise. It can be, I don't want to do that tonight, and it's over with. It's done. And then we can agree on something else later. Because if you do everything that they demand you to do, and we're back to that bully again, that is feeding into them being selfish. She's going to do it the way I want it done, or he's going to do it the way I want it done. And that's not how life works. It needs to work as a compromise. It needs to work as a team effort, because I read my Bible. My Bible says, in all thy getting, get an understanding. Relationships need to have an understanding. We need to have a baseline, a foundation to really understand that we're in this thing together. And as the Bible says, a man that finds a wife finds a good thing. And so she's supposed to be your good thing. She's supposed to be your rib. She's supposed to be your protector. And if she's your protector, and I know some men out there saying, protector, come on now. Well, your rib is to protect your lungs, isn't it? And if she came from your rib, she's a protector. Not
Absolutely.
saying that she's a protector in everything in the life, because you're the head and you're the protector of the house. But I mean, she's your protector. She's your helpmate. And since she's your helpmate, you have to be in a way that sustains to what the Bible says, so that you guys can have a successful marriage.
And you want to be that protector, not so much as I think sometimes you say protector, people think, that a guard, or somebody that has the gun and they're ready to, but you can be a protector of his heart, helping him navigate through some things as far as bothering him. It's his heart. And just be a protector of that. It's been, I think, really good to talk about the selfishness, and even recognizing that you could just have selfish traits and want to do better in your selfish traits.
Absolutely. And one last thing I want to say is choose your friends better. I mean, if you find yourself having a selfish trait, check out who you're hanging around with. Are the brothers you hang around with, are they selfish? Or the sisters you hanging around, are they selfish? Because that trait will jump on you and you become selfish because of the people you hang out around. And sometimes you have to change your surroundings so that you can get a broader horizon and get a different piece of the pie around. And so that way you're not just stuck in the selfish mode. But we thank you tonight for coming to join us on Relationship Matters. And we hope to see you on next week. And we'll be here bright and smiling and happy to see you.
Please do join us again next week, same time, 6 p.m. Don't forget, send your questions. There's going to be an email given at the end of this. Send your questions so we can answer some of your questions and your relationship battles that you're having. God bless you.
God bless you.
Elegant Affairs offers custom clothing, including denim jackets, masks, and other unique designs. We offer fashion jewelry, bags, and accessories. We also offer event planning. Reach out to us at 734-558-6236 or reach us on Facebook at Elegant Affairs. Elegant Affairs, when it is time to shine.